All right, this is the beginning of week 6. We are Sunday, the markets are not yet open, but I wanted to do a quick rundown of the market real quick and figure out my trading plan for the week. So looking at the US dollar, I still see weakness here. I want to short this. I'm already short actually. Um, so I'm going to play this against other currencies as well, try to establish positions. This is a monthly chart, by the way. As far as the yen, it's been in a strong downtrend, but now there is a bit of rejection. Is it the bottom? Doesn't look like it yet. Look at the weekly. There is a chance that this might break. I'll keep an eye on it. If it breaks this, then I'll look for long-term positions. USD Canadian, I think, is gonna go down, but I've been burnt before on this bad boy. Not burnt, but I gave up some positions because of this head and shoulder pattern here. So I would like for price to go around here, or there. These are the two targets. For the yen, I want to short this, but I'm pretty sure there's a good chance it's going to do something like this before it goes. So since I'm already short, I'm not going to liquidate this. I feel strongly that this is exhausted. I'm not sure about the trend line here. This is the most conservative one. And if you take the bodies, then it already broke and tested that trend line here. But I'm going to go with the more conservative one over here. So yeah, so that's why I'm short USD yen. I don't see how this is not gonna go through, but will it retrace before that? That's the question. So I'm gonna see some equity drawdown probably in the account, but I think it's for a good cause. This looks shortable. Like, I mean, there's a lot of rejection here. Hasn't reached the. I mean, if you connect this stop as well, then this is rejection, but yeah, so that would be the play here. I think potential regression for the Australian. Let's go on daily. This looks a bit late. I don't think I would do a play on this. Over here, there was a reverse head and shoulder accumulation, but it's too far in for me to do anything for now. I guess it depends how you look at it. Yeah, I'd probably go long on this. If this is the just a temporary potential resistance, Yeah, there's probably a regression play here that I could do, but around up to here maybe. I don't know, not the best setup, but if I was forced to trade it, that's what I would do. New Zealand USD, I tried to short last week, but I got stopped out. I played it badly, but there could be a bounce here, but I don't know yet. I'm gonna watch shorter time frames to see if I can find an entry, but I think it might do a spike up here, so I'll be careful. That's an important trend line. If we break this level, I would eye this one. Oh yeah. I mean, it's been weak for a while. It doesn't mean that this downtrend is over though. It could really well bounce here and keep going, because the body here closed below this wick of that candle, so it is possible that it will go lower than that. So I'm not sure. Hmm. There's a bunch of supports and resistances that are interesting. I wouldn't buy here, that's for sure. So the question is, do I wait for this bounce here, which we're really close to, if not there yet already? I mean, yeah, tough one, because now it could revert to this trend line, accumulate force, and then go through. So yeah, I think I'll just pass on this for now. If it touches this and I see strong rejection, I'll reconsider, but right now I don't see it. Now, this has been something that I've been wanting to go long on, and I kind of sat on the sideline. Had a chance when I started this little experiment with the macro account, but I didn't take it. So now I think it's heading comfortably to this zone here, but I would prefer to buy it after a good pullback. I mean, it's been going up for 3 weeks straight. I'd like to see like a black bar, something like that, so that I can go long. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I don't want to buy lower, so I'm not gonna do anything yet. Same thing for this. This, if you go back in the videos in this series, this one I saw quite clearly. I even traced what I thought it would do here. If you go back, it was around here, and I was explaining that usually these V shapes tend to dick around and then start to go up after this, after the zigzag, and that's exactly what it did, but I didn't trade on it. But it's bad. But here it's touching this. So if we could see like a retracement here, maybe that would be fantastic. Some type of pullback in this area, and then an up move would be absolutely fantastic. So I'll keep an eye on that. This one has been quite sporadic. I don't think I'm gonna go in this one again. I made some money on it, but it never went as far as I thought it should. So thinking this maybe. We have rejection here in the candlesticks. Quite a bit of rejection here as well. So on this pattern here, which is the minor formation here, we had a good opportunity here after the overshoot to go long, but I didn't start this experiment yet. So now it's kind of doing a flag formation. But from here, it could just as well go down a couple of times before it does a move. I think it's going to go up, but I don't know if it's going to be now. Like it could be a few weeks, especially with this here. So yeah, that would be the type of play. So what I need to take a look at here is a break of this or a bounce off of that. Something like this would give me like a continuation pattern. If it gets here, I'll try to buy. Well, that's messy. Clearly a pennant here. Continuation pattern. I don't know how far though. Probably. Yeah, that's a trade. That's definitely a trade. I mean, yeah, I think that's this one needs to be on my candidate list. Over here we have head and shoulder followed by a continuation pattern. So the trend is down, no doubt. And this is redistribution basically. So, and the way to measure this is you basically take this, and then from the break gives you your target basically. So the more conservative way of doing it is like this. Bring it up a bit, and that would be your target. Because that's a long time to be distributing or accumulating, but it doesn't look like an accumulation pattern. It really looks like a that looks like a redistribution basically. So meaning that the bias is down. So this one, like both of these indicate that the pound is going to lose some feathers here as well. Curious to see what Euro GBP. Oh. So Wyckoff, if I've ever seen one. So the way to see this is like this. So you've got this zone here, which is the bounce area. And you've got this zone here where selling happens at high volume. So now the big guys are in. Like this is what I call whale watching. So big guys are in, we have a retracement, and then we're hitting down lower. I mean, that is an interesting position. That's the main support that I see. That's the main resistance. But we're not even making it there. Because there's too much selling in this area here. So that's a good setup. I would say that's the best setup I've seen so far. So if Euro GBP as a pair goes down, that means that the euro is going to lose some feathers against the pound. So what about the other one? Yeah, that makes sense because we just bounced off of this trend line. So I think we're in a regression play right now. So the euro see. I think that's the play. That doesn't make sense. Well, it's possible, but from what I'm seeing here, the euro looks pretty strong. Like, well, it's been weak, so it could get strong. That's what I mean. Because of the reversion. So this is what I call a magnet play. This is when, let me go on a monthly here. When there's a big trend line like this, and I'm past the mean. Let me just trace my lines real quick. So we're way past the reversion. So at this point, I call these magnets. So basically, the price wants to head higher over here. This trend line. And once it gets there, it becomes a bounce trade. So then I would look for a short in direction of the reversion. But right now it is a magnet play. So if I find an opportunity to go long on this on a different time frame, that could be interesting. The problem with the magnet trades is that it can get very choppy, especially on the way up. Like this would be an example. very, very choppy on the way up. This is a monthly chart, so for months and months, the price is holding there. What I do like here is that I already have 2 points, so it's a bit less like this resistance didn't have to be established for had to be established for a long time before it was now the new resistance. So now by connecting this one and this one should be very obvious to most traders, most long-term traders anyways. So that's a possible play. Let me look at the daily. I'd probably want to see price get higher than this. That's the main support line, so we're kind of accelerating. The time that it took to reach prices here, from the time that it took there, they're going exponential basically. So it is being attracted to this, but I don't know if I would want to buy here, you know? I would prefer for price to drop down. So this is a wait and see, but definitely in the next few months, it will come on my watch list for a short, for a long-term short. Because these are the type of trades that you can really pyramid. Because when you have a move like this, like price tends to drop a lot faster than it goes up. Like it goes up really in steps and takes its time, but when it drops like a rock. So these bounce plays are my favorite plays by far. So yeah, I don't think I'll touch that until it reaches that resistance. This still looks like a short, but it hasn't moved in a while. What I've been worried about this one is for price to reach this trend line here. Like I'm not convinced that we've seen the high of that move, even though there's strong rejection. I made a bunch of money in my first and second week on this. If you've watched my videos, you know what I'm talking about. But it's taking its sweet time to get there. But once it goes, it's really gonna go. Like this, I have to keep an eye on. I'm just not forced to trade it. Like, I would have liked to... it looks like it broke and now it's testing this, but it tested this and now it's breaking on the downside. I'll keep an eye on it, but my fear has been that it would do something like this, then go down. Like that. But I'll watch the small time frames on this, so I'll write it down somewhere, and I'll keep an eye on this. Maybe establish, if I find a 5-minute setup and that I can get in a position and then lock in the bring the stop loss at my entry level as soon as I can, that I would just set and forget basically. And then two things happen: either initially I get a small loss, or if I have time to go into profits then I get a flat trade if the market reverses, which is fine. Or I start a pyramid if it really goes down for a long time like this, for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like this could be the beginning of the pyramid, so we'll see. We are ways into it. Hmm. So this is a magnet trade, basically magnet setup, I should say. So we're heading there. So that's... We need to analyze the New Zealand a bit more, but from what I can tell here, this is definitely a downtrend. I would look for a short. Oh, I've already analyzed this this weekend. This is a very, very interesting setup. This is 30 years of data, basically. So we are, like, we've been playing around at the low of this for well over 6 or 7 years, going up and down and up and down, and it finally broke that formation. So it has the making of a very complicated accumulation pattern in the Wyckoff arena, and but it's not quite a Wyckoff, because the at this point here it's supposed to go up and then test and then go. Now it went up and it went all the way down here and then come back. So in that case, it would be like a type 2 accumulation pattern, because this zone where usually you would have the overshoot on that side, it didn't make it. So now it would be, this would be the test basically of that trend line. So two cases here that can happen is that it could accumulate here and then go to the regression, which I would consider buying, but very carefully with short time frames. Or it could really bounce off of here, and if it does, it could go for a long time. But it's not going to be a straight line, like it's going to look like this. So it's going to be a hell of a ride. But if I'm lucky and it bounces aggressively, because this is a test, right? And if we bounce, then it's going to take a lot of people by surprise, because a lot of people shorted this. Like, it was very aggressive. So there is potential that we go towards this long-term regression here. But in steps, so we'll see. This is another good setup. So far, this is a good setup short, and this is a good setup long, and they're like, all of these two don't have a currency in common, which I really like. So they're not as related as other trades that I could take. So this is a magnet trade, so it's going there. So I would short there or go long if I find an opportunity. Yeah, So we're at this resistance. I wouldn't do anything yet. What I would like to see is for price to come down and then penetrate or accumulate near the high over here. Maybe break up, then that would be ideal. Or it goes back down and works its way. But I need this to break, basically, is what I'm saying. I want to do something. Because I wouldn't short it yet, but I would definitely look for a long this type of situation. Because we're past the regression line, but this can get really choppy really fast. Yeah, this one I would look for a short as it hits this. Whoops. That would be the play. The New Zealand Canadian. This one I hate myself because I saw this trade. Like I saw the long in this zone here. And I didn't act on it. But when you look at this on a 4-hour chart, this is a beautiful pyramiding setup. But I just watched it. Now this is a good setup. This is very reminiscent of how I got out of Bitcoin before everybody else. So I'll show you how. Even made a video about it. A bit late, so people gave me shit, but I still got them out at the really high level here. So this is where I got out of Bitcoin, in that zone. If you go watch my videos, I think I called it like I sold everything, here's why. And I forget exactly where, but in this zone, it was in the 40-50,000 range, and people were calling me crazy a bit, but so it dropped like crazy, and then it did the retest over here. Here we are. So that was a good pump for me on crypto. So this is the same type of this type of pattern here. I don't know if it's done. But I would definitely start looking for a short here. Yeah, that's high on my list. So Euro GBP, Australian, New Zealand, and Australian yen, very high candidates. Yeah, this one I think is going. It's going to the trend line. I would love for this to break on the downside. But to be honest, I think it's going to go test this before it does anything. Then I'll look for a short. Because the potential is not big enough, I don't think. Yeah, so that's the play. And Canadian yen, I'm already short on this. Same type of formation where it's a three-wave pattern where setup. Where the third wave is either not able to reach this or is about equal. But it's a three-wave reversal pattern in the same vein as a head and shoulder or a Wyckoff distribution. I treat them the same way, and this is the target that I would have for this. So I'm short. I have nothing to do here, so that's good. So right now I'm short this, and I'm short that. These are my positions currently. I would like to establish positions in this short, and I would like to establish a position in this long, ideally. But I can't, like, I wouldn't buy it like right now. I need confirmations with small time frames, but these are definitely the plays, and I think there was this one as well. Yeah, Australian yen. So these are the play for the week, so I'll keep you updated as to what I want to do and what I actually do. So I'll see you soon. All right, the week 6 has begun. The markets have been open for a few hours now. So my position that I already had existing from last week were this one here. I'm short on the Canadian yen, so my target is going to be around this trend line over here. So around 100 is going to be where I'll liquidate this. The USD yen, I had positions last week as well. I'm hoping that it's not going to go back here before it goes, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go down regardless of if there's a retracement or not. I have a strong feeling that this support is going to give pretty soon, but I might be wrong. The new positions from this week is this one. I just shorted the Australian yen over here. I thought that this was a nice setup because I had a three-wave structure over here that got penetrated and tested, and then we have a nice little pennant type of pattern, so I shorted there, and it's the same trade basically. I'm short the yen basically. So right now, actually I'm long the yen if you want, because I think that other currencies are going to buy less of it. But so around here is going to be my target. What else do we have? Euro. I went long on euro. I'm pretty sure it's going to do a strong retracement, but you never know. So I put one position, just one lot, small position, and if it retraces, I'll buy more. And my target is this yellow line over here, which is going to act as a resistance, I believe. So we'll see. And then the last position that I have is Great Britain Canadian. This too, I think, is going to retrace in my face. But in case it doesn't, I entered one position, and I'll manage a position. If it starts to go lower, maybe I'll add if I still have some margin left. Otherwise, I'll just wait it out. It's no big deal. And my first target, because of the confluence of these resistances over here, I've put my target here on this trend line. So let me show you the trades real quick. So here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positions. So I'm margin, like I have margin up the wazoo right now, so I'm gonna have to wait this out a bit and let the positions work. in my favor, and then I'm going to protect my entries on some of the positions that are in profit, and then I'll see if I decide to pyramid or if I decide to move my limits to be a bit further so that I can profit from bigger moves if ever I see there's a lot of volatility. I need to look at the news for this week. I haven't done that yet, but if there's a news event or something like that, sometimes I decide to get out before the news event, and then I put orders a bit further. I'll explain that in a later video, but it doesn't matter. So right now, these are my positions, and I'll keep you updated. All right, little update. I just saw something interesting on oil. We just broke the this support over here. And last week I got caught against the trend, and that kind of annoyed me. And right now, like it did this reversal here, and I went long over there, and then it went up. I went in profit, and then over here it reversed, so I had to get out, and I lost like 30. I think it was like 8% of the account on that little mistake. So now that I clearly see what the trend is, it's going to this support over here, I believe. So when I saw that this support broke, and I decided to short that, but I didn't have enough margin. So what I had to do was to cover the Great Britain Canadian for a little while, this one here. So I took a mini profit of like $1 or something on this, and because I think it's going to retrace eventually, I decided that this was a better value trade. Sometimes you gotta make a choice, and I had to make this one. Hopefully it pays off. All right, we are Monday morning. It's 7:09. I woke up a few hours ago. Most of my positions are in the green. In fact, all of my positions when I woke up this morning were in the green. I made an attempt to short the USD Canadian when I saw this support break, and there was some rejection over here, so I shorted there, and I had put my stop loss here. But as it came back in, I decided to cut the trade short. So basically, I lost $1.19 to just trying to establish a position. No big deal. And then the other trade that I took is over here. I just shorted this. Not. I don't think it's the greatest spot, but because I think it can go as high as this trend line over there. But I wanted to establish a position because if you remember, I was seeing this massive distribution pattern, and I want to be short on this, and it was hanging at the low. I decided not to do anything because I wanted to see if it would retrace, but now it did. So I figured since we're close to last week's low, I decided to short this as we were seeing rejection on shorter time frames over here. So my stop loss is here. Let me see. So Euro GBP, my stop is at 86.93. So here, right above these two, above the monthly pivot, first of all, because I think this can act as a magnet, and above these two resistances. So that's kind of the play. So I'm risking a couple of dollars just to get in on this potential trade, but I didn't wait for, usually I wait for a 5-minute signal, but now I'm really against my 5-minute system, so it's likely that it's going to be a loss. But yeah, so that's my goal, because basically what I did, oh, sorry, I forgot to switch. There we go. So my system is telling me that green, green, green buy. So, and I went against it because more often than not, I'm faster than my system. So that's the reasoning behind it. That's why I went short, as I was seeing this rejection. So even on the 1 hour chart, like, you have this rejection candle over here. So that's the idea. I'm trying to establish a short on Euro GBP. The USD Canadian, I thought would be, remove this. I think that it's a short, and I think it's rejecting over here, and right now we're in the upper end of that rejection, and I think from here we're gonna start going lower. That's been my play for a couple of weeks now, but it hasn't manifested, and that's what happens when you trade long time frames. You got to be really patient with your trades. So I don't know if my timing was right here, but that's the reasoning behind it. I was risking a couple dollars to get a short that would net me a big return reward ratio, reward to risk ratio, I mean. So yeah, I'll wait this out and see what happens here. Other than that, what I did with all my let's just look at Canadian yen real quick. This one was my favorite one. I had 2 lots short since last week, so now it's starting to break down. So love to see that. So I just need to sit on my hands for probably for a couple of weeks because it's not gonna go there this week. It's gonna take a few weeks. I need to be patient with this. Maybe pyramid, but I'm pretty leveraged right now, to be honest. Like, this is way more leverage than I would normally feel comfortable on a big account. But there's something about small accounts that makes you feel safer because it's little money. Um, the the danger is to carry that forward as the account grows. But in my case, it hasn't been a problem because I really don't like to take too much risk when I see the dollar, like the buying power behind it. It gets very scary, so I tend to scale down until I'm able to sleep at night. And then US yen, it just broke. I was expecting it for price to go up, retrace, and then go, but obviously it didn't. So not sure if, oh, it didn't break. It didn't break it if we take the absolute low here. So, but I'm still in positive territory. What I don't want now is for everything to bounce upward. So what I did since I had the opportunity, is on all my positions I've put my stop loss at my entry, uh, more or less. So every single transaction except the Euro GBP is now protected. So my balance can't go lower than 416 for now. This is funny money. Equity is funny money right now. So if it reverses, um, I don't lose anything. I just start the week fresh, basically. So that's the situation I like to be in. All right, I just closed my Euro position. This is why on the 1 hour chart I have a very strong rejection candlestick, and we are right at the resistance. So I think we might visit this trend line over here. I didn't draw it properly, evidently. So I want to see what happens here, even on a 4 hour chart. Like, it looks like it's really struggling right now. I still think it's a long, but I don't feel comfortable right now because of this three-wave structure. I think I might be better off being flat here. So I took a profit, and on oil, same thing. It seems to have made some type of bottom, and we've reached the average range for the day. So I decided to take my profits as well. So if we look here, my closed positions, 4 trades, 3 wins, 1 loss, and made almost $15. So now the balance has reached 431. I just entered a position on the Australian New Zealand. The idea is that I saw a pattern here in a three-wave structure with an overshoot, and now we've went beyond this trend line. So that's going to be my first attempt. I'll put my stop here on the low. And the idea is that I really want to start building a position on this. I think this is as good an entry on a small time frame as I can get. So that's the update. So right now the situation is that all of my positions are protected that are related to the yen. There is still the risk that my profits, my positions get taken out of the market flat. That's always a possibility. My Euro GBP seems to be working well, so I'll keep you updated tomorrow or something. Oil, I hope I did the right move because it's very volatile for this size of an account. It's quite a bit of leverage here, so I would love for price to retrace here so I can short again. And if it goes against me, I'll probably have to let it go and look for other opportunities. But the thing is, we had a gap here, and gaps must be filled, so it is possible that we retrace here. We'll see. I don't know. This looks like a tasty position. I hope I can get short again on this soon. So that's the situation right now. Made a bit of money. Very little. I have a bunch of positions established on the yen in the right direction, hopefully. And almost no risk except my new positions on Euro GBP and Australian New Zealand. Little update on Monday still. I try to go long on the silver market over here. This is how I traced it initially. But then I realized that perhaps this trend line is more accurate. So instead of being accumulating on top of an old support which turned an old resistance which turned support, now I'm probably bouncing off of a resistance, and it could very well go down. So I'm bullish on silver in general, but there's so much manipulation in that market that I don't know what to think of it anymore. So I'm kind of I decided to close the trade, so I made a loss of $2 just for initiating things. But no big deal. So right now the what do we have? Yeah. So over here, and my 2 positions on the yen got stopped out, unfortunately. One of them was negative 15 cents net after the fees, and the other one 2 cents, so 2 flat trades. And what I did is, because I thought that it wasn't done yet, let me show you on the chart. So because I thought it wasn't done yet, what I did is I shorted again. I don't think it's done going down, so now what's happening is that I have one lot on US yen instead of two, so two of them got stopped out, but I still think it's a good short, so I shorted here. And I put an additional lot in my higher confidence trade, which is on the CAD yen, which has been clearly broken down. And there's no guessing that it's not gonna bounce or anything like that. I'm pretty sure this is a safer bet. So now I have three mini lots on the Canadian yen and one on the yen and one on the Australian yen. So all of this, I treat this as a gigantic position relative to the size of the account on the yen. And now I'm trying to diversify away from that. I'm trying to, like I showed you, I try to establish positions in the Euro GBP. So Euro GBP, Australian, New Zealand. I'd love to get back in oil soon. But for now, oil is consolidating at the low. So I'm waiting for some type of retracement. Ideally in this zone here. Could go higher to around there. So this is not out of the question, but anywhere in that zone here, I would be happy to short. So as far as euro, you see, I was right in getting out so far anyways, because now even on the 4-hour chart, at first the pattern was just on the 1 hour, the rejection candle in that zone. But if you look now on the 4-hour, we have a big, this would be classified as a shooting star, sort of. And now we're going down, so I protected my profits. I'm going to see if I can get back in at a different price, perhaps along this trend line, or if it breaks that, perhaps in that zone here. But not in a rush. I already have exposure to the Euro GBP, so still short on this. And it's right against this trend line here, so hopefully it bounces off of that. So yeah, so I'm trying to diversify away from that. I've been looking at commodities a bit more. There was a play on sugar that I saw, but for now I'm leveraged enough, so I'm gonna wait for to see what happens with especially with my position with the yen, and see if I can maybe protect my entries before I start adding new risk on in the equation. All right, so I had to take some profits here on some positions with the yen pairs, because the Australian yen just broke that resistance here, and I didn't like that at all. So I ended up taking a profit on this until I know where it's going exactly, and until I find some type of opportunity to short again. But I think right now there's a retracement happening that I'm not willing to hold all of my positions on it. So I took some profits. If we look at the broker here, the close position for the day is I made $26, and I've closed all these positions here for $16. So now I kept one position in each of the yen pairs except the Australian yen, because I think I can probably get back in at a better price. The other thing that I don't like is if we look here, I've mentioned that I thought it would do some type of retracement here, and that's really in the back of my mind. I don't like that this is being rejected so much at that support, so if it goes back here, I'll look for a short, or if it breaks this trend line, I'll short again. And I think I'll have plenty of time to make money on the downside. But right now, I want to err on the side of caution because I think it's I don't want to lose my profits. I want to have a profitable week, and I want to start it good. So I took some profits over here. I've had a good day so far. The balance is up to 443, and the equity is pretty much matching that. So I feel comfortable with my positions right now. Let me just switch to the oil market. So for oil, it has done, it broke out of that range over here as I thought. Now would probably be a good time to start shorting, but I'll go on the 1 minute chart maybe and see what I can do. I'll need to analyze this a bit longer, but I think this is starting to look pretty good. Yeah, we have rejection, so I'll probably try to reestablish a position. And basically what I want to say here is that my effort in what I've been doing today is I want to diversify the income for the account. I want to have a portfolio of various commodities and pairs of currencies that are not so related. And as you can see here, oil is hitting the previous support that got broken. Now it's acting as a resistance. So that was my plan, as if you watch a few minutes ago, that's what I wanted to do. So I'll probably start shorting over here. So going back to what I was saying, the right now I have Australian, New Zealand, Euro, GBP, nothing to do with one another. The only two that have something to do with one another is the Canadian yen and the US yen. So that's, I treat this as one position, but the other two are independent. And now if I could get in on oil, I would have another position, which is completely unrelated. We're still Monday of week 6. I just saw an opportunity here on Euro Canadian. There is a bounce happening on the Euro Canadian. I can't take that trade yet because I already have a position on the Euro short, Euro GBP. And I have too much leverage going on right now to comfortably take that trade. But this looks like a high quality setup. If you look here at the rejection, there's very strong rejection on the 1 hour, 4 hour. If you look here on even on the 1 minute chart, there was a nice setup here, a nice head and shoulder pattern. And that would have been a good setup for a short with very little risk for a trade that could last for weeks and weeks. So that's why I think it's important to look at these weekly charts. So right now, because of my involvement in Euro-related pairs, I have 2 positions short on the Euro GBP, so it's too much for this size of an account. But I'll definitely short this on my main account, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. Alright, so today was not a good day. I managed to give back almost all of the profits that I had made on my first day. And what happened is that mostly my trades were in oil. And if we look on a small chart, small time frame, here I shorted and it went against me and I ended up having to cut my loss, I think around here. So I lost 4 or 5% there. So that kind of set me back quite a bit. I think I shorted. Yeah, I shorted here actually because of the rejection over there. And then I had to get out there. And then I tried to short again and sure enough, I went in profit for a bit and then it retraced again. And then I went back at my thesis about it being in a downtrend, and I saw that there's strong rejection here. So I think that at this point I'm gonna give up on the oil trade and consider that it's going to go up from here because of all this strong rejection, and the shape of this is a type of V, so could go long, but I haven't had good trades with the with oil, and I think it has to do with the percentage. There's too much leverage with the smallest contract on a small account like that, and it draws too much percent when I lose. So I think it's driving me to take bad decisions. So I decided that for now, until the account is at least at $1,000 or $2,000, I'm gonna drop oil and focus on other currencies. So if we go back to Forex, the USD Canadian has been quite strong. I wanted to see some type of retracement and then a break, but clearly this is not what's happening here. There might be a bounce trade against that trend line here that could be made, but it seems to be a lot stronger than I expected. Like right now, this head and shoulder pattern was not able to even reach its target, so that indicates strength. Is it possible that we have a big black candle here? Sure, but for now, I basically wanted to clear my head, and I liquidated a bunch of positions. And because I was losing so much, I over traded today. Really bad day. I'm up $6, but I had so much unrealized profits that I gave away that I had to clear my head. So when I do that, what I end up doing is I start liquidating my positions and walk away from the computer for a few hours or even a day sometimes or two. And then I come back and then I focus. But, you know, this is a small account, but I'm trying to trade it in the same way that I would trade a bigger account. And that's how I react usually when I have a bad streak. I walk away. And as far as the US yen, this one has been... I've been waiting for this one for so long to break, but it's just not. So I decided that I would stop trading this one unless I have a short opportunity up here. If it does a retracement, I'll short. Did it work? If it does this, I'll short. I'll probably short on a break as well. If it goes, if it messes around here and eventually breaks, then I'll start to be active on this. But for now, I'm not trading that one. Same thing for this. This one seems to be wanting to go down. All right, so this is where I'm at now. What I'm thinking is I'm getting a lot of, not signals, but indications that this might be a good setup on the New Zealand, because New Zealand Canadian has been good. New Zealand US has been against a resistance as well. It's kind of a bounce, and this is the point at which I originally sold over here, and I got stopped out there, but it did do a good run on the downside, and now it came back. So what it's doing right now is a pattern that I've showed you guys in one of my videos, the FX Brawler reversal pattern that I call it, because I've never seen it in books. But basically, it's a megaphone, a downward megaphone after an uptrend, and then price goes beyond the megaphone. Sometimes it reaches the high, and then it retraces very aggressively. I haven't made a move on this because I'm not convinced that it's done coming back up. But I'm really thinking about shorting this eventually. But I had to clear my mind. This over here is a good sign. There's rejection. So if this low breaks, it's possible that we're gonna go lower. But and if it's the case, perhaps it will be the start of another down move. I don't know if it's going to be as aggressive as this one, and this is why I'm kind of hesitant to short this, because when you see an exponential move like that and then it V-shapes right away, then it's possibly the end, you know? It's possible that it's going to do a small retracement and then come back and go and hit these highs. That's what's been in the back of my mind, but, you know, you never know. So my thinking right now is that I'll try to establish a position in there, and as soon as I can, I'll protect my entry, and I'll just see where it goes and focus on other pairs. The pound has been setting up for retracements. It seems there's rejection here, there's rejection there. This looks bearish to me. Pound yen, I don't want to touch that yet. So I don't know about this. The Euro GBP, I want to establish. I had shorted this, and then I saw on I think it was here. What I'm seeing here is that it did this, and then it tested the weekly pivot, and we have a higher daily pivot over here on top of that. So this seemed to be a bit bullish to me, so I shorted this, and then I added to my position around here, so I ended up getting out about flat when I saw that it was messing around. So if it breaks this low over here, perhaps I'll just short and hold this as a long-term position base of this Wyckoff distribution pattern. But you know, this could mess around for weeks and weeks, even months before it does anything. But this big candle over here is kind of a tell that it's going to head lower, at least to here. And then if it breaks, then it's going to be all hell is going to break loose. And this might be a multi-month down move, but too early to tell. So I exited this and in an effort to deleverage my account and try to clear my head. And then Euro USD looks like it wants to go down. Euro Canadian, I've tried to short this, and this is where I kind of got hit. Where was it? Right there. So what happened is when I saw this big V, I shorted here, and then it went all the way there. And in that zone here, I was like, okay, it's not supposed to go back up over there, but maybe, you know, this strong rejection might be an indication that I just got stop hunted, but I don't know, at this point, I figured that I would cut my position when I saw that. Now it's rejecting again, obviously, but I think I'll wait to see what happens here. If we start, I'll see if I can find a signal on a smaller time frame using my trading system, but for now I'm kind of disgusted with it because I lost a big chunk. That's where I lost a lot of money. This trade in oil, basically, I think the idea was good because this is a typical bounce that I trade when there's a strong move like this and it hits a resistance. I try to find a short somewhere, but maybe I was too early, so I'm not giving up on the trade yet because it's a good setup. But I don't know if I'll do anything on it. Euro yen, this looks pretty good. I would wait for a break. Oops. Euro Australian is killing me. It's been a long time. I was waiting for a break for a long time since the beginning of this series. Made some money on it, but it doesn't look like it wants to go. Yeah, maybe I should have continued trading this and doing what I was doing, just shorting these highs over there. But I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this resistance not having been hit. So I was always expecting something like this. What else? This is two in between. Between this resistance support, basically. So I would wait for it to get here or there. Australia and New Zealand, I attempted to go long on this. Do I still have my position? Yes, I do. I'm still long on this. I'm not sure that I should be, but it might be early a bit for this, but it's not very volatile, and even if I'm too fast, I'll just get out if it hits these lows again. Australian Canadian, just that's a penetration of the resistance over there. So to go long on this, I would wait for price to test this new support, and then probably trade it for a magnet trade to this trend line over here, long-term trend line. This I've talked about. This I'm still short. I think this is a good setup, but I want to see this this support being broken to the downside in order to get some profits in there. But this would be a long-term position. I would have to hold this for several weeks. This one is a bit too close to its resistance here, so I didn't do anything on it. If there's a spike, I'll probably short it. Canadian yen, I capped some profits on this. I did catch this break. I made some money on it. I won some of my positive trades, but my target got hit around here. In an effort to try to deleverage and clear my head, I now exited this trade. So what I'm looking for here on smaller time frame is an opportunity to reshort this, because I think that we will visit this trend line. So there's still quite a bit of pips to be had with this pair. That's what's been happening, basically. Pretty much the same plan, but I didn't execute well. Made a bit of money, but really nothing crazy. So yeah, that's the update. Little update, because of the fact that the price is now against this resistance on this big pattern, I've been wanting to short this like crazy. So what I'm seeing here is that we are right against the weekly pivot, against the trend line. So I just shorted this to try and capture some down movement. My hope is that this support here eventually breaks, and that we finally, after talking about it for a month, we finally get close to this support over here, and go back to the bottom of the channel, because right now we're kind of hanging in the middle. I really don't want this to go and hit that trend line, but it is possible that it's going to reverse in my face. If this trend line here breaks, I'm going to have to get out of this trade altogether, because if this breaks, it's likely that it's going to continue for a while, and I can't hold that kind of position. So we'll see. So another question is, are we about to see finally the USD yen break that support? If it does, I think it's going to go down and go down quite quickly. I've talked about this for a while, but this is my target, and if I'm able to enter this and I hold my positions on the other yen-related pairs, I'm gonna make a buttload of money for that small account. So hopefully it breaks over here. So I'm monitoring it on small time frames. Right now it is kind of extended. It did. You can see here that there's a small head and shoulder pattern that got broken. Now we're right at the. It touched the weekly pivot, but I didn't do anything because I had told myself that I would wait for price to actually break the support before I do anything else, because I took a lot of cuts on this pattern. So I don't want to miss it, but at the same time I don't want to jump the gun again, so I'm watching this one very closely. Alright, little update. It's Thursday morning, the 1st of December. We are in week 6. This week was a roller coaster because I started really strong. I went from 416 in the account to 475 in the equity, but not in the realized portion. It was in the balance that was affected like this. But I started the week by trying to short the hell out of New Zealand dollar as it was coming against this resistance. But it decided to do some form of a V-shaped recovery. So I think we're aiming for this high eventually, at least. So it looks really strong. So I'm not touching that anymore on the short side. I couldn't bring myself to go long because I wasn't sure if I was, because of the money that I lost during the week, I wasn't sure if I was in an emotional whirlwind or if I was right. But what I decided to do was to be decisive and cut all my losses, and all trades that are not related to the yen, and I went berserk in my highest confidence trades. I did exit the Australian yen too fast, perhaps, but what I was seeing was that what I didn't like was the fact that this trend line here had never been broken. And since it's sort of a channel, it is a channel, and it wasn't broken yet, and I was afraid that it would go up here, because when you look at the weekly chart, you can see this clear trend line there. So I was afraid that it would go up all the way there, and for that reason I cut my position. It was in negative quite a bit. New Zealand Canadian, it broke the resistance line over here, and I had started to short based off of this candlestick over here that got rejected. So I shorted a bit, and then it kept going up. Same thing for the New Zealand USD. So you get the drift. I was basically in negative quite a bit, and I had to make a decision. And the decision is always to correct your mistakes. So I corrected my mistakes, and I focused on the positions that were working. So just to show you the roller coaster of the week, I started the week, I think, at 416. Now I lost $21 in realized positions, short or positive or negative. And now my open positions are up to almost 50 bucks of net. So I'm short 3 positions in Canadian yen at various levels. I've been building a small pyramid. And the same thing in USD yen. And the thing is, if we reach the levels that I think we're going to reach in the next few weeks, I think that alone will bring the account into a nice place. Because if you look at the USD yen over here, If it was to reach 126, at 126, I would make $93 per lot, and I have 3 lots. And for the Canadian yen, if we reach this, which I think is almost inevitable now, so 97.33. I would make $38 per position, more or less, around 30 bucks. So this would be a $100 trade if you combine the 3 lots, and I haven't pyramided it yet all the way. You know, if we see some retracements along the way, I might have other opportunities to short again. But one thing is for sure is now I'm sitting on my hands. I'm not. What I've been looking at for 5 or 6 weeks is now finally coming into play. So I really need to be focused and not cut all my profits short, because then all the small losses trying to establish positions would have been in vain. And I think that this is where my strategy is very different from what I see other people trade on YouTube anyways. Is that I look at long-term patterns, and I often get a bunch of losses in a row, or I stay really flat or in a range in the balance of the account, but eventually there's a huge breakout, and I make like windfall profits that make all of it better. So I think this is the potential for this. It doesn't mean that this support is going to hold either, because if it breaks, then the next levels are in this zone, right? So around here. So that's another. So if it does a move in this style over here, where there's a lot of opportunities to short, then this might be. I need to keep an eye on this, you know, and of course, I don't want to hold my position if it does a retracement as big as this. But it was so exponential that I think we're at least going to reach this, and it's very likely that we're going to reach this $91 to $92 over here. So we'll see what happens. But that's my trades. The other one that I've went long on is the pound USD. I'm going for a regression play, and I thought it was really strong. And when I saw this trend line being broken, I went long one lot just to test the water. But the strongest has been this one. And I was long at some point during the week, but I ended up cutting my position. But I think that this is another one that I'll be paying close attention to, and try to go long on a retracement, because the regression is quite far away. And I think that this is a good play as well. So I'm going to try to build now. I'm going to let my USD yen and my Canadian yen work their magic, and then I'm going to start focusing a bit more on the pound and try to go long on that. So that's my update. Alright, because there's a lot of long wicks right now which indicate rejection, and we might see a retracement here in the US yen, I closed 2 out of 3 positions, both in US yen and Canadian yen. Because I think we're going to see a retracement here, less so on the Canadian yen, but after a long move like this, like I'm pretty sure it's going to do some type of retracement, and I'll be able to reestablish my positions. I plan on shorting here and probably around there. I doubt it's going to go back there. If it does, I'll reevaluate what I do, but around this would be an ideal time. So one of them I'll probably set a limit to get filled short, and the other one I'll as it turns around, I'll look at small time frames and look for a break to short the other lot. But I want to reestablish these positions because I think it's important that I pyramid, but at the same time, I don't see the point of holding all my positions if I think it's going to retrace. But in the case that I'm going to be wrong, I don't want to be, I don't want to see the market fall and I have no positions after I've prepared and waited for so long, for weeks and weeks, for this to happen. I think this is a long-term play, but I do think there's going to be waves within it, and I'll trade these waves while holding a core position short that I never sell. That's my goal. If I'm able to do this pyramiding scheme, if it retraces and I'm able to short again my positions and then it breaks this low again, it's likely that these positions I won't touch anymore, and I'll wait for another retracement to short again, and then I'll play with those. Maybe I'll short 2 more, and then one of them I'll exit as the market goes down. So as the market goes down, I'll exit and keep the other one. Then I'll short again 2, and then keep repeating that process of shorting 2, getting 1 out and cashing in profits, and then shorting 2, getting 1 out and cashing profits. And this will, in effect, build a small pyramid, but at the same time, I'll be cashing in some profits to bring the balance up. So that's kind of where I want to go with with this move. I'm glad this broke because I'll probably be able to show you how I pyramid into positions to have some windfall profits, but no promises. We'll see what happens. It's quite a small account, so it's difficult because of the margin requirements and things like that. And at the same time, I would like to start diversifying a bit into other pairs. Like the pound is really high on my radar, but the pound, because it is so volatile, it freezes a lot of my margins, so it's difficult for me to pyramid into it. But at the same time, it's a lot of volatility, so if I'm on the right side of the trade, then I'll make some profits pretty quickly. So that's kind of what has been happening. Let me show you the account. So I've closed 30 positions this week for minus $17. Wow. But at the same time, the equity is now at 455, which is at 456. I will have actually double the account in 6 weeks. So that's pretty good. You know, if you keep doing that type of performance, it doesn't take long to compound an account into a lifestyle, basically. And that's kind of the goal that I fixed myself with this series. Is I wanted to show you that the process doesn't happen overnight. It happens over months and months and months of grinding, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm grinding. Of course, I'm trading my other account on the side, and it's not quite the same psychologically, and my position sizing is different. And on my main account, I trade commodities. I trade index, some indices like the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 and the US 30 and things like that. But it's very close to what I'm doing right now, and hopefully I keep having the time and the interest to do this for people so they can actually see what it looks like to be a trader, you know, because there's a lot of hype around, and it bothers me that it's that Forex is given a bad name, because all the wannabe Forex traders are actually selling courses and making the money that way, not by trading. So I'm hoping to get away from the pack and to show actual results over a long period of time. That's the goal. All right, so we are Saturday the 3rd of December, and I just closed out week 6, basically. So what I was waiting for finally happened. If you remember, I started seeing this over here, and we made a windfall profit over here. Then I lost a bunch of money here with indecisive trading and trying to control the equity curve of the account. But in hindsight, I should have just held my position. And now it finally broke down, so I think we're heading that way. So most of the money of this week was based off of the yen, with a little bit of Great Britain pound where I went long and I profited a little bit from that. So let's take a look at the equity. So at the close of week 6, I made $51, but it was a roller coaster of a week. I gave away so much profit this week because I started very, very strong. I went from here in the balance, it goes up to 454. But in the actual account, in the equity, I was up, I think 474 is the highest number I've seen. And that was like on Monday of this week. So I could have probably banged this and take it easy for the rest of the week. But instead, I proceeded to have a very long string of small losses, trying to short the New Zealand pairs and trying to establish positions, hedging my bets a little bit and things like that. So that was a really bad streak, and I think this speaks volume because let's take a look. 454. This speaks volume about the importance of risking small percentages of your account on each trade, because here I lost I lost 0.5%, 0.4, 0.3, minus 2%. That was the biggest loss in the lot. And over here, small wins, small losses, 2%, 2%, 2%. But these added up quite a bit, and I think we'll look at the numbers, but I think it was like minus 11% drawdown during this 6 weeks period, which is pretty good because the Sharpe ratio is, I think, 3.7. So 1 is pretty bad. 2, between 1 and 2 in the Sharpe ratio is good, and above 3 is excellent as far as the risk versus the reward that you take. And I fought my way back. So basically, I cut down all my trade. At some point, I was starting to be a bit frustrated. So what I end up doing is I clean the table. I just close all the positions in one go, because this looks like a timeline because it's the amount of trades, but all this happened on the same day. It's like I cut everything down, I started fresh, and then I put my mind back into it, and then I started making money again. So the week has ended at 468. So that's 104% return, 65% win rate, and 1.29 risk to reward. So the numbers have gone down quite a bit. I'm not too happy about that because all this could have been avoided really, and this should be much higher. I usually aim to be above 1.5 to 2 risk reward ratio. Because I have a pretty high win rate. Usually I'm sitting at around 70 to 75% win rate with 1.5 to 2 risk reward, and that's kind of where I hang. But I couldn't pull it off in this example, in this 6-week process. But the Forex account is officially flipped. I doubled, more than doubled the money in the account in 6 weeks. So yeah, so that's the end of week 6, wrapping up.